thank you. Okay, so next up we have Nadia. I think the last name I'm going to try Bernu, but maybe you can say your name correctly when I pass the mic to you. I do want to say that I know you're calling him, I believe, from Mozambique, which probably means this is an awkward time for you. So if that's correct, okay, I think that's correct. Thank you for being on here. Okay, so Nadia is going to talk about,
Course.
hello. Nadia is going to talk about education as a way to empower leaders from the developing world. She is currently a missionary with Iris Global and is helping to build a world-class Christian university in Pemba, Mozambique. She formerly worked as a senior software engineer and product manager at Google. And she holds a Ph.D. from MIT in applied mathematics, where she met and fell in love with Jesus. She has a heart to empower and equip people to fulfill their dreams. So that being said, Nadia, go for it.
Cool. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, it's really just an honor just to be part of this. And Cheryl is a dear friend of mine. And, and more than that, she's a kingdom collaborator in this building of the university here in Mozambique. I couldn't do this without her help and without others there in Silicon Valley. All right. So this is actually an aerial view of the campus that we have, the land that we have with the university. You can see the buildings that we have. We have this beautiful ocean view here. Yeah, I mean, this is really, this can only be God, the positioning of this university and what he's doing here. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Yeah, and then this is just, so the three pillars of our university is faith, integrity, and innovation. We want Jesus really just to be glorified in every aspect of this. We want to, really operate in integrity, and especially in a country where there has been a lot of corruption. Integrity is super important. And we really do want that innovation that comes from Silicon Valley. That's a huge part of this university. So before I get too much into this, I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of share some of the backstory. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Iris Global. It's a Christian NGO that was founded by missionaries Heidi and Roland Baker, and our mission is that we are empowered by the love of God to stop for the one in need. Particularly the Bakers have had a heart to serve the poorest of the poor. Their ministry started, I think, in China, and then they were in England, and then about 25 years ago they came to Mozambique, and they began just taking in street children, and they've planted thousands of churches in Mozambique. They've started primary and secondary schools. Their schools have the best scores in the nation. Education is a huge aspect of what our organization does. And Iris is in 36 countries now in 69 locations. So it's actually a very big organization. And then I'll share a little bit about kind of this. I put this scripture here. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. And my story there's a lot of twists and turns, but it's really cool how God knitted this all together and brought me here to Mozambique. So as Tammy had mentioned, I got my, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life when I graduated. So I got a PhD in math. I had studied math as an undergrad, but I really at that point, I was just kind of I really didn't have a clue. So I applied to a few different schools. MIT was the only one that I got into, which, okay, God picked that for me. And then I was not at all, when I came into grad school, Jesus was not at all on my radar. But then through, I think grad school was it was actually really challenging for me. And I struggled a lot just with imposter syndrome and just a lot of personal issues as well that brought me to a place of humility of, and for an encounter really to meet Jesus. I ended up getting a hold of a Bible. And I mean, this is kind of a long story, but through reading one of the Gospels, I just completely fell in love with Jesus and was just so captivated by him. And I knew, like, literally, God, I used to have really bad anxiety. God completely set me free from that. I had an explosive temper. My temper was gone. And for the first time in my life, I had peace. So it wasn't just like, this is like, these words are spirit and in truth, and Jesus is who he says he is, and literally he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So that, like, radically, I think, changed my the direction of my life and what I was living for, because I think before that I was more motivated just by worldly success and not, but Jesus just brought so much meaning and purpose, and also that desire to bring others into relationship with him. So, and then around this time, so that I met Jesus like my third year of grad school, and then ended up, I graduated in 5 years. After that, I ended up getting a job at Google. Sorry, I'm not that great with like all these with the dates and stuff. But I ended up getting a job. Yeah, I basically applied to 2 places, got into both, but then just chose to work at Google because, yeah, it's an awesome place to work. And around the time of 2015, I was going. So I had like so I meant after I ended up going to like a spirit-filled Christian church, and I learned how to just hear from God, how to have a relationship, and really, God started doing a lot of just healing in my life. And there was a missionary who came to that church, and she was a missionary in Mozambique with Iris Global. And I remember just being really marked by that. And like, I really wanted to go to Mozambique. I really had a heart for this place. And I began having dreams of being in Mozambique and working with Heidi, which is like just really random. Well, it's not random, it's God. So in 2015, I applied to the Harvest School. Iris has this, it's called the Harvest School of Missions. Anyway, closed door. I didn't get in. Again, in 2017, I applied. I didn't get in. But honestly, this is the kindness of God because I wasn't ready at all to go. And so I was working at Google just as a software engineer, but really still having this, I did try to live missionally when I was at Google, but really having this heart to go to Mozambique and to serve the poor. And I started doing like a lot of just like short-term mission trips. But it was kind of more like the longer I was at Google, it was like more, I needed to do this like longer term. I didn't just want to do the short-term trips. So in 2019, I decided if I reapplied for the third time to the Harvest School, I finally got in. God opened the door for me to go. So I took a leave of absence. Also, by the way, like before this, I had transitioned and started a job as a product manager. And I was supposed to, after my leave of absence, move to San Francisco. So that was the plan. But then God crashed in. So in the Harvest School, I was really just wrestling with the Lord about, should I quit my job? Like what, and one of the questions that I had asked to kind of expose what was in my heart was, okay, God, say that I made the same amount of money working at Google as I did being a missionary, what would I rather do? And the answer was really obvious. And so for me, I'm like, I really only have one life to live, and I want to give all the glory to Jesus. And that it may look different. It looks different for different people. So for me, I didn't want to hold anything back from him. So then I was like, okay, God, like I'm willing to quit my job if you ask me, but I also didn't want to be like hasty about it because God was moving in Google in terms of discipling coworkers and just seeing God's kingdom break in there. So, but then, like, whenever I would be praying or in worship, I just kept hearing God just say to quit my job. And then Heidi, so my harvest school, we went to Scotland, we went to Israel, we went to Madagascar. In Israel, Heidi was like that she wanted to meet with me because she found out I had a PhD from MIT. And she starts pitching to me about this university. And, you know, what I consider just coming to teach, even just for like 6 weeks of the year, would I be willing? Honestly, I was polite with her, but I wasn't super interested, right? Like, I was like, yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, it didn't like grab my heart or anything. But then a couple weeks later, God spoke to me in a dream and was basically like, help Heidi with the university. Um, and then interestingly, I found out, so I was like, yes, God. Um, interestingly, Heidi told me a few weeks ago that she gave a talk at MIT around the same time that I would have been there. She wasn't on my radar at that point. And she had also asked God to send someone from MIT to help with the university. So God answered that prayer. Yeah, so then I ended up here. I sold all my things. I quit my job. I sold all my things after the harvest school, and ended up moving to Pemba, Mozambique, to help work in this university. And I thought I'm coming here to teach, but God had something different, something even better. So when I got here, I began, just whenever I'd be praying or worshiping, God just starts giving me these downloads about the university. So I just, just shared with Heidi. I made a short deck, just showing her some of the things that God had showed me. And then Heidi asked me if I'd be the CEO of the university, which I felt the Lord on. And it's really an honor just to serve in this way and to help build this university. And honestly, for my gifting, like I am more of a builder than a teacher. So that I'm really like, I like this role a lot more than being a professor. Um, so yeah, so let me get into more of the nitty gritty about the university. Yeah. So one of the core beliefs that we have is that talent is global and that opportunities are not. I know this is not, we didn't coin this expression. A lot of people say this, but it really is true. And before I came here, God spoke to me. He said, you're going to be mining, and it's not for like literal treasure. It's not for earthly treasure, but you're going to be mining for people and about the potential that exists in Mozambique, and pulling that out of people and really awakening them to who they are in Christ. And I believe that education, spirit-filled Christian education, is a huge part of that. And so we really do want to come alongside these students and give them access to opportunities. And I think that's Cheryl, there's this bridge between Silicon Valley and Mozambique, and through that we are able to help give some opportunities. Even right now, some of our students are through technology, through the platform WhatsApp, they're able to connect Cheryl and I have set them up with pen pals from Stanford. And like, that would never happen. Like, someone in Mozambique typically wouldn't ever interact with a student from Stanford, but through tech, this is possible. And I think it's like, we want to share our networks. We want to share the resources that we have. And I think vice versa. It's not just a one-sided exchange too. Like, I'm learning so much from Mozambicans as well. So I put what we're building here. I put this picture like really of a greenhouse, because I think discipleship is a huge piece of what we're doing, and really awakening just sons and daughters of God, like, to who they are in Christ. And it looks different for different people. Like, there's different plants in this picture, and we're not just trying to build like cookie cutter students or cookie cutter Christians, but to really see what did God place in each one and to draw that out of them. And I like just this, I've recently gotten into gardening. My roommate's really into gardening, so she got me into it. So maybe that's part of also why I chose this metaphor, but really we want a university that is teeming with life and where people can really thrive. And I think, in this, uh, and it's not the fault of Mozambicans, but this country's been oppressed for hundreds and hundreds of years. And to where people are, they're literally dying of starvation. They only know how to survive. So this concept of what does it look like to be a son or daughter of God, and what does it look like to actually thrive? Like that's powerful. It says that the creation is longing to be liberated from its bondage to decay. And so liberating sons and daughters is a huge part of what we're doing. And with that, I wanted just to share our vision and mission statement. So, and this came out of, hours of just really praying and seeking God about what are we building here? And I think that's really powerful. So our vision is we're a world-class Christian university that awakens the DNA of leaders, innovators, and influencers, and commissions them into every fabric of society from hem to crown, anointed by the Spirit of God in excellence, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And our mission is to awaken sons and daughters of God through Spirit-filled Christian education founded in the intimate knowledge of Christ. Yeah, I'm just really, I just get really excited when I think about, what God is doing there and what that's going to look like, for our students. And I do believe, I believe that there's people that are called to government, that they're going to transform the government here in Mozambique, that there's going to be scientists. Cheryl even prophesied about Nobel Prize winners that are going to come out of this university. And I believe that. And just so you know that where we're building this, it's in the province of Cabo Delgado, which is the poorest and the least educated in Mozambique. And I think that, only God says, okay, build a world-class university in that place. Like, who does that? So just from an educational angle, there's only less than 1% of higher education in Mozambique, and the literacy rate is only 60%, and for women is 50%. And it's largely digitally illiterate. Only 20% of people are on the internet here. Spiritually, outreach to unreached people groups who want to strengthen our students of faith and equip them with practical skills. And our university program, so we are doing a 1-year pre-collegiate intensive, and the reason for that is because that education in Mozambique, it isn't great compared to an international standard. We really want to set students up for success and to help fill in some of those educational gaps and give them a robust foundation. So I'll share more about that in a bit, and then we have a 4-year degree program. And the 3 majors that we're starting out with are business and entrepreneurship, public administration, and theology. And then we're going to fast follow with computer science. I'm very excited for that major and a bunch of other things as well. So the pre-collegiate program, we really want to empower and equip students to pursue their dreams and teach them technology and tools to be effective. And there's 5 core areas that we're focused on. So theology, or really discipleship, math and critical thinking, digital skills and computer science, English and Portuguese. So Portuguese, Mozambique is a Portuguese speaking nation. And we're launching this first in Mozambique, but actually I believe this is going to be rolled out globally eventually. And I believe there's going to be a training center that we're going to build in Silicon Valley eventually. And this is really a time to innovate and to apply. I think we can take big risks here in terms of the educational trends and techniques that we use. And we really want to make the learning as hands-on and as interactive as possible and get away from the traditional model of where it's just a teacher spewing out information as a student, and they're just just completely overwhelmed after being lectured at for like over an hour. But we're looking at a flipped learning model as well, to where students maybe consume, they maybe watch a message on their own, but then they come to class and they're actually engaging the material there with a facilitator, as opposed to just the, I think we will mix it up. There will be some traditional live classes, but also we want to, try other things that help students to not just retain, but to engage with the information more. We're also including short courses, workshops, team projects, and it will be taught and facilitated by locals and internationals. And we're doing it in 3 modules or trimesters. I'm really excited about the Stanford Logic and Problem Solving course that we're going to do. Gary Antonik has graciously agreed to teach that. We're super excited about it. We're going to do a digital skills with G Suite, a bunch of discipleship classes. This is just a sample program. We're still kind of figuring out all the pieces here, but might do the Biola Business and Entrepreneurship class as part of this. And then these are just some examples of short courses that we may have. And I think it would be great if we brought passion talks for our students, and if they did some sort of a business project. And then I just want to pitch on August 18th, this event, Inventing the Future of Academia from Mozambique to Silicon Valley. Heidi will be speaking at this event. I'll share a little. We have different academics, people from Stanford there, Cheryl. So I would just encourage you, bit.ly/IrisUniv. And if you want to get in touch with me, this Nadia at universidadiris.com, and our website's irisuniversity.org. That's all.
Yay! Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah, sorry for going too long.
No, that's no problem. It was really enjoyable to learn about the work that you're doing and that Iris University is doing in Mozambique. Do have some questions, but we're going to cut those in the interest of time, so I'll pass you those afterwards.
Okay.
But thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for sharing about it today.
Of course.
And for calling in at this odd time.
Yeah, no worries.